Daniel Reyes had worked at Harrow Logistics for 11 years. 11 years of early mornings, late nights, and missed dinners with his daughter, Emma, all so the company could hit its numbers. He was the best operations manager they had, and everyone knew it, everyone except the man who mattered. The CEO, Marcus Voss, called Daniel into his office on a Tuesday morning. There was no warning, no explanation that made sense. Just a folder on the desk and a cold, practiced voice. "We're restructuring your department," Voss said, not looking up. "Your position is being eliminated, effective today. And now it doesn't need you." Voss finally looked at him, and there was no warmth in his eyes, only irritation at having to have this conversation at all. "Security will walk you out. This isn't personal, Daniel. It's business. I have a daughter," Daniel said quietly. "I'm all she has." Voss shrugged, already reaching for his phone. "Then I suggest you figure something out. Because as far as this company is concerned, you're finished." Those words followed Daniel out of the building, into the parking lot, into the months that came after. Finished? As if 11 years of loyalty could be erased with a single sentence from a man who had never once learned the names of the drivers who kept his company running. The months that followed were the hardest of Daniel's life. Applications went unanswered. Savings disappeared into rent and Emma's school supplies, and the small, quiet costs of simply staying afloat. He picked up shifts at a warehouse, then a second job driving for a delivery app, sleeping 4 hours a night, and telling Emma everything was fine, because that was what fathers did. It was at an auction of unpaid storage units that Daniel found the object that would change everything. He hadn't planned to bid on anything. He'd gone because a coworker mentioned people sometimes found valuable equipment in abandoned units, and Daniel had $400 left after rent and nothing left to lose. Unit after unit sold for hundreds, sometimes thousands, snapped up by resellers who knew exactly what they were looking for. Then came Unit 214, filled with nothing but water-stained filing boxes and a single-locked steel cabinet. Nobody wanted it. The auctioneer nearly skipped it entirely. Daniel raised his hand. $400. No other bids. Inside the cabinet, he found the dissolved paperwork of a regional freight carrier that had gone under years earlier, its shipping contracts, its route permits, its client list, and most importantly, its unclaimed fleet titles sitting in a legal gray zone nobody had bothered to untangle. Daniel spent 3 sleepless nights researching, calling lawyers who worked for coffee shop consultations, and slowly realized what he was holding: a legal path to reclaim a dormant logistics license and a handful of trucks sitting in an impound lot, still technically registered to a company that no longer existed. It took him 4 months, every favor he had, and a loan he barely qualified for to get 2 trucks running under a new name, Reyes Freight. He drove one of them himself. He hired the only person willing to work for deferred pay, a mechanic named Tobias, who believed in him when no one else did. The first year was brutal. The second year was survival. By the third year, Reyes Freight had built something rare in the logistics world: a reputation for never missing a delivery, never cutting corners, and treating every driver like they mattered. Clients who had been burned by bigger, colder companies started calling. Word spread. The fleet grew from 2 trucks to 20, then to 200. By the 6th year, Reyes Freight wasn't just surviving. It was becoming a name that made larger competitors nervous, including Harrow Logistics, the very company that had once decided Daniel was finished. Harrow's fall wasn't dramatic. It was slow, the kind of decline that comes from years of a leadership team more interested in short-term numbers than the people actually keeping the trucks moving. Contracts slipped away. Drivers left for competitors who paid better and treated them better. And when a major client scandal broke, A shipment mishandled so badly it made the local news. Harrow's board finally ran out of patience with Marcus Voss. Struggling to keep the company from collapsing entirely, Harrow's board reached out to the fastest-growing logistics company in the region for a possible acquisition. They didn't realize, until the paperwork was already on the table, that the man who now controlled the majority interest in the acquiring company was the same man Voss had once walked out of the building without a second glance. The meeting took place in what used to be Daniel's old office building. Voss sat across the table, visibly older, visibly smaller than the man who had once said those words so easily. He recognized Daniel the moment he walked in, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. "Daniel," Voss finally said, I didn't know it was you." Voss stared at the terms, confused. "This is more than fair." "Why?" "It's not generous," Daniel said. "It's business. You have a good operations team who had nothing to do with what happened to me." Voss opened his mouth, then closed it. There was nothing to say that wouldn't sound hollow. "I told you that you were finished," he said finally, quietly. "You did," Daniel agreed. He closed the folder and slid it across the table. "You were wrong." Daniel never talked about the deal publicly. He didn't need to. What mattered more to him was smaller than any acquisition, driving Emma to her first day of high school in a truck with his own company's name on the door, watching her roll her eyes affectionately when he waved a little too enthusiastically as she walked inside. It wasn't luck. It was a commitment he made to himself in that gravel parking lot, back when it had only been $400, and a vow that he would never again let someone else decide what his family was worth.